What's up, everybody? It's Randy. It is Monday Mojo. So it's coaching Monday every Monday at noon Pacific time. We do live coaching. So I usually have a topic I'll go over, and then we get to where we'll have Q&A. So I'm here to help you bring your tough questions, bring the things that are going to help move the needle forward in your business from a coaching perspective. So we had a coaching call for my coaching community. Finished about half an hour ago. We had Angela Fazio on, which is an amazing woman. This is a production-based coaching call, so we're not attraction heavy, but we had an attraction call with Angela, and so some of her things may lean into being attraction-based. But what I love about it is attraction is no different for anybody. If you're a single agent doing deals and you're like, I never want to attract. If you want to build a team, you have to attract. You have to attract talent. You have to attract assistants. You have to attract buyers and sellers, right? We're in the attraction game. And so when I talk about this, you can frame it into whatever you want to think about along those lines. What I personally got from Angela was very, very significant. Not only is she a very strong woman of faith and Christian faith, she comes off in a way that is unapologetic, but yet refreshing to me. Now, I'm a Christian, but I'm a new Christian. I am born again a year ago, last January, in Maui Christian. And I joke about being half hood, half holy because, I've had a rough upbringing. I have a rough side of me. I'm a biker. I'm a trucker. I'm a contractor. I'm all those things. But I'm also a lover and a compassionate guy, and I want to help people. So sometimes I battle with this half hood, half holy thought process, if you will, just being vulnerable. But for me, behind closed doors when nobody's looking, I care about people. I'm helping people. I'm loving people. And that can be misconstrued. That I don't care. I don't care about any of that stuff. I'm 1000% okay with who I am and who I'm being. It's not for everybody. It's not for everybody. And the people that are around me the most come to learn that hopefully that is an area of contribution that I'm providing value to the relationship, to the friendship, to all those things. I hug many, many people that I know, boys and girls. I kiss many, many people I know, mostly girls, some boys. Rick Chiha used to always kiss me on the neck every time he saw me, and he's the only man alive that was allowed to kiss me on the neck. Rest his soul, he passed away. But Rick Chiha was a special human being. I never felt like he had any ulterior motives. I knew he loved me every time that he embraced me and gave me that kiss on the neck and just acknowledged me. And for me, a lot of us run through these emotions of being good enough and wanting people to like us. And I'm a recovering codependent. I'm telling you this because it may help somebody move the needle in their life, in their business, in their relationship, whatever it may be, right? And so what I got from Angela today, outside of that very spiritual component of it for me, was that she had one of the most successful brokerages in the nation, 900 agents in her independent brokerage. They owned it. That was their deal. It's called Revelation Real Estate for, their revelation. She found Christianity in her 30s, but that was a passion project of helping agents do better in the real estate space. I might have lost everybody for a minute. My apologies. Yeah. So when she rolled that in, only about 300 people joined her. Only about 300 people followed her to the next company. and she lost 600 people. 2/3 of her company did not join her new endeavor. And she was okay with it. She loved on them just the same. She loved on the people that left. She loved on the people that stayed. She was going somewhere with 100% conviction. By the way, 4 years later, that's now 9,000 agents that she has in her company, in her organization, and in her circle. If she would have let fear and self-doubt and all those things creep in, she would have not been successful like that. And so my coaching is almost always around inspiration and motivation, perspiration, right? Doing the work. But what I love about her, what she said, it's about people. It's not about my company. It's not about my brand. It's not about any of that. It's about what their needs are. What do the people need that I'm talking to at that moment? And I love that. She said, if I don't know what they need, how can I express what we have to offer when I don't know what they need, right? Everybody's different. There's over 1.56 million agents in the real estate space. What do they need? What are they struggling with? What are they suffering from? What are they winning at, right? And so for me today, our passionate side of this message is find what you're good at and find your tribe that's willing to do it with you. I don't care what company you're at. You could be a real LPT, Epic, EXP, Colbank, or Keller Williams. I can go on for about 10 minutes because there's a lot of them. Doesn't matter to me. As long as you're in your power, as long as you're finding your voice of what you're passionate about, you're going to impact other people. Whether it's you being the listing mastery person and you have a team of 20 that you're building, that you're helping them with their mastery skills, you're helping them with getting more leads, and you're sharing commissions, whatever it may look like. So for me, that's my message today. My message is step into your power of what you would do for free. Forget about the money for a minute. Sometimes we have to do things we don't 100% enjoy because we are supporting families, we're supporting people that count on us, we're supporting ourselves, we're supporting our dreams and our visions, our goals. That's awesome. But what would you do for free? Because everything I'm doing right now, I do for free, right? I get paid handsomely. I'm very proud of that, very happy about that. But I've aligned myself in a place and I'm doing everything I would do for free. So I know, Melissa, you were on that call. I told you I'd ask, what did you take away from that particular call that may be similar or different than what I just said? I'd love to expand on that one.
So what I took away from that call is that no matter how smart you are in a particular area, that you can always learn more, that there's always room for growth, and that no matter how much knowledge base you have, you can always expand that, even if it's by just knowing the tip of the iceberg or by diving in and knowing the whole iceberg. You can always still grow and help others by even having just a little bit of knowledge. And if you don't have the answers, just say, hey, you know what? I may have seen that somewhere. Let me get back to you.
100%. Because that is still an act of contribution, right? It doesn't have to be instant gratification. You don't need to know everything.
And it
And
gives
by
you
the
a
way,
reason to go back.
100%, 100%. And by the way, if you're doing it unattached, if you're doing it without some kind of wanting something in return on the backside, that is the truest gift. That is when you'll make fanatical fans. You know, Jeb Blount has a book called Fanatical Prospecting, and it's about building fanatical fans, almost cultish. If you think about it, what is a cult, right? A cult is, and I'm not reading the definition, I'm making this up in my interpretation, but a cult is a following of people that absolutely believe in somebody, something, right? And they just go completely in. Now there's an element of it that's dirty, which is the indoctrination of trying to get people to believe in something that they didn't otherwise believe in. And that's why cult has a bad name. But if you think about, you know, evangelizing people to get people to see what you see, and if they don't see it, they don't see it. It's not trying to talk them into it and get them to drink the Kool-Aid. It's finding people open-minded to have the conversation, to evangelize them and following you. Is it good to evangelize your buyers and sellers to you? It absolutely is, right? That means they believe you, they'll follow you into a burning house. evangelized your clients to where they will actually put other agents at bay saying, no, you're not allowed to talk to me. Melissa Miller's my person, right? She's my person. You have zero chance of breaking into that, right? When you first meet somebody, you can't have that. But over time, through good service and good business practices and disciplines, you can evangelize people by telling them what to say, to telling them what they should expect to hear from the other people, to say what your expectation is, what your commitment to them is, all that stuff. I want my people evangelized Randy Byrd, and I had that in my career. And if I don't have it, that may not be my person, or they're not far enough down. They're not far enough down the street with me of drinking my Kool-Aid, because I think my Kool-Aid's awesome, but it's not Kool-Aid for everybody. It's my Kool-Aid, right? So that trust, that respect, that integrity piece, it might take time. And so when we talk about these kind of things with me, it's like, what are you doing in your real estate business to evangelize your people? Do they have a script or the power of a dialogue to have with other agents when they walk into an open house, or they get somebody door knocks on their thing, or they get a flyer in the mail? Have you had a conversation with them that is strong enough that they know there's wolves out there? There's wolves out there that are going to try and get into your opportunity in your buying and selling by things called procuring cause or whatever it may be, right? But if you're educating them from a place of abundance and not fear, how powerful is that, right? I used to always tell my clients, when you go into an open house, there are wolves out there. It's not that the wolf is a big bad wolf like he's trying to hurt you. They're serving their one purpose, which is the listing. They want to represent you in that particular showing. And if you feel comfortable with me, you have to be able to go in there and say, I'm working with Randy Byrd. That's my agent. I'm willing to sign the book, but I'm going to put down Randy Bird's my agent next to it. They might treat you differently, but know that I'm the one that's going to help you with the transaction. They're opening a door for you. But if you don't say that, they can force you to be in a relationship with them contractually, and it's called procuring cause. A lot of people don't understand that, but the procuring cause is very powerful. And then I tie it with the story. Real story, I was in a new subdivision in Arizona over the last weekend looking at houses, and on the door was about an 11 by 18 sign, white sign, red letters. It says, if you're visiting this house without an agent on your very first visit, that agent will not be allowed to represent you. It's in like 2-inch bold. That's as bold a message as you could see. But if you haven't had that conversation with your people, they could open the door and say, hey, I read your sign, but my agent's Randy Byrd. Do you want me to continue through, or what's the process here? Right? That's education. That will save you a commission. But if you check in and they go, oh, no problem. By the way, you have to sign the book just to acknowledge you were here. You're done. They have procuring cause on you, and they've given due notice. That is the law. That is how it works. Agents don't understand that. How do we expect our clients to? They did go through the 80 hours of training, right, or whatever. So I'm going to jump over to Melissa. I want to ask you again, when you think of that, again, it doesn't matter what company you're in. You could be purposeful now about plugging into what your companies offer, whether it's meeting with the sales manager, meeting with the broker. What is it I don't know that I should know? If you were me in the sales posture and selling real estate again, Mr. Broker, what would you do if you were me? As you look at my business, another question, as you look at my business, what would you do differently? That's a vulnerable question to ask your broker, but guess what? They love it when you do it. It doesn't matter even if you called up, like our broker is cloud-based, it's online. We may have never met them in person. We can't walk into the office. But you go into our metaverse and ask Deborah Penny, hey, Deborah Penny, I want to get better. Would you look at my advertising? Would you look at my website? Would you just take 5 minutes, look at it, give me your interpretation of what you see, what I could do better? And ultimately, I want to be the best version of myself I could be for you. You're my broker. She's going to do that. Even if they see things wrong, they're not going to beat you up about it. They may say, hey, this is the real problem. You got to fix this like tonight. But you want to know that anyway. but you're going to be on the radar. You're going to be on the radar in a good way. You're going to be on a radar in a sense that, like, man, I wish I had 3,000 of those agents. That's a good place to be, right? But agents don't do that because they fear them getting looked into. They fear these things they might be doing wrong, fear of failure, fear of judgment, all these things, right? But what if we took ownership of that fear and we said, no, I'm going to step into this fear. I'm going to find something that scares the shit out of me, and I'm going to do it because I know it's going to move me forward. Right? What's your takeaways from that statement?
You only grow if it scares you, basically. If it doesn't scare you and you're comfortable with it, you can't grow because it's something you're used to. It's just casual and normal and everyday life. But if you do something that scares you and you're held accountable and there's an outcome, whether you like it or not, you're going to learn, because if it's a negative one, you're never going to forget it. And you're definitely not going to repeat it. And if it's a positive one, you'll repeat it and you'll keep going from there.
100%. That's why we don't want our kids to be scarred for life. Touch a hot stove, you learn, right? So we want to mitigate the amount of damage that can happen to our children. But how many hot stoves do you have to touch? It doesn't matter what age you are, right? I remember it. I remember grabbing something that was hot and going, okay, that was dumb. And my dad couldn't have told me that 7,000 times without me experiencing it sometimes, right? And so when we tell our kids, be careful, we got to keep them out of traffic, because that's not something they're just going to get a bump on and learn from, right? We've got to mitigate the amount of risk that we let our kids move into, but we've got to let them fall down and scrape their knees and then put Bactine and a bandage on it, and say, you're okay. You're going to do it again, but what'd you learn, right? So I love that. Thank you, Melissa. What about you guys? Kenny, Patrick, Sonia, Lewis? What do you think about that? Stepping into fear to grow. What comes up for you in that?
I'll take that, Randy. I think this kind of ties into, we had Ricky Carruth on the Wednesday call a week or two ago. And one of the things that came up, I think it was one of the agents also on the call had seen him somewhere else and asked him to address this idea that you can make massive change very quickly. And, there's the idea of doing incremental things to help, but then there's this point where you can have an inflection point where you decide to tackle massive things. And it's like, there's literally like a before and an after. And to me, on that fear component, I think that's it, is that when you finally reach that point where you're willing to run towards your fear and just tackle these massive things, that it's we should run towards it, not away from it, essentially. So, is that you feel it creeping up and you just go and you feel uncomfortable, but that's the right direction.
I love it. And I'm gonna unpeel that onion a little bit, Patrick, because there's different levels of fear, right? There's fear, like, let's just try to use some kind of comparison example. You take an agent in the office and you ask them to look at your marketing, give you feedback. There's fear that they could not like it. There's fear that they might steal it. There might be other forms of fear of that. But the fear is pretty minimal, right? The damage is pretty minimal. The fear is pretty minimal. As opposed to you calling the broker of your, like Glenn Sanford, the founder, for instance, and saying, hey, Glenn, I got to be honest, I've never liked your logo. And I'm just curious where you came up with that logo. I think you should change it, right? Well, he could say, hey, you're not a good fit for our company because you don't like us, right? That's like probably an unfounded fear, but that's something that could be more extreme. Everything's in some kind of contrast, right? When I look at fear, I look at it like, yes, the greatest movements you're going to make in your business are probably in the place that have the most fear. But there's also risk that comes with that, with fear, right? Your fear is a natural thing that protects you, and it's there for a good reason. If you say, for instance, I'm gonna sell 100 homes a year or die, and what you mean by that's financial death, probably, right? Not physical death. Mm-hmm. But if you say, I'm gonna sell 100 homes a year, this guy's selling 100 homes a year like Ricky Carruth. He's spending 20 grand a month. I'm gonna put everything on credit cards. I'm gonna spend 20 grand a month. I'm gonna do it. it's going to work or else I'm going to fail. There's a lot of fear with that. There's also a lot of stupidity with it, right? Because as you move through fear, you want to have mitigated losses. You want to be able to mitigate that. But if you think about it, you can't be comfortable in that decision because you keep playing smaller and smaller if you find comfort. There's got to be this place of fear, like, you know what? I'm going to sell 100 homes this year, no matter what it takes. If you tell me as a coach that, I will lay out a plan for you within your physical ability and your experience ability to sell 100 homes a year. It's just none of it is fun. Everything's going to be fearful for you because you haven't done it before. The first thing I'm going to do is go say, okay, we're going to knock on a century house a day. They're like, what's a century house a day? It's a 100 houses a day. That's like first thing, right? Doesn't cost anything. You got Chevrolets, right? Doesn't cost anything. Chevrolets. So get out there and knock on 100 doors a day. And they're like, oh my gosh. And then they accomplish that. They get people slamming the door on their face. That's fearful. But then they get a win. They get a little bit of confidence. I go now call 100 expireds a day, right? So knock on 100 doors, come back to the office, call 100 expireds. Those two activities all by themselves, if you just treat it with some normal database follow-up and some normal things, just by nature of numbers, that's 1,000 connection points a week. Mathematically, you're going to close 40 houses out of every 1,000 contacts. Like that is actually 40 to 1. So every 400 contacts, you close one escrow, right? So mathematically, you're like, okay, every 40 real estate related contacts I make, I close an escrow. Might be 60 to 70 if you're a brand new agent, newer. Scripts and dialogues, all these things start helping it. Those are mathematical certainties. So if we literally had a switch where we had zero fear, we have to work 8 hours a day anyway. Why wouldn't you do it? It goes right into the fear mechanism of, I don't like that. It's not that I'm afraid of it. It's just I don't like the door knock. Okay, what part don't you like? Hurt your hands. It's bad for your exercising 5 or 7 miles a day. That's bad. No, it's not that. Okay, what is it? When you break down to it, it's the fear of rejection. It's the fear of not being good enough. It's the fear of talking to somebody that you don't like and you don't know. Whatever it is, all these things are equal to fear, right? So that's why I love overcoming objections. I love overcoming call reluctance. I love overcoming these things because you can see human beings make absolute change. And then all of a sudden the world is your absolute oyster. Right? Would you agree that all your lives on this call right now, your lives would be really unrecognizable if you closed 10 escrows a week or 10 escrows a month?
Absolutely.
Close 2 escrows a week is 104 transactions a year, right? So we were doing 144 at my peak at my team, 144 transactions that I did. And I just remember it was just a numbers game on the board. I didn't have a lot of attachment to it, but it didn't start that way. I actually started my real estate career by calling 100 strangers a day out of the phone book because that's what my coach said to do. I didn't know any better. I just said, how do you get that? He said to do this. So I just didn't have an attachment to it. But if 100 would absolutely change your lives, your family lives, maybe even your children's lives, I'm not asking you to answer. I'm saying what's holding you back, right? It's typically the story and the fear that's associated with it. You don't understand my story. I've got children, or I've got a cat, or I have to do this, or I do that. Everybody's got stories, but we also have the same number of hours in a day and the same minutes in the hour. Now, this call is not about prospecting, door knocking, and calling expired. It's not about that at all. It's allowing you to break through the mentality of what puts us in that place. And like Angela said, to circle back to this, and if you weren't on the call and you don't have access to my track boss, I'll provide it to you since you're on this call with us today. Just ask me for the recording, I'll get it to you. As Angela said, when I'm absolutely driven by purpose and passion and my conviction, it's never work. And then I don't care what version of it they take, right? If their house is on fire, I want to ask them, can I help you put out the fire? And if they're not open to it, I'm okay with that, right? I want to ask the question at the very least. And so again, when you're talking to buyers and they're on the fence because the rates are high, do you have the ability to speak with absolute conviction at a 10 and say, you, my friend, Mr. Buyer, are making a mistake? Nobody has a crystal ball, but everything I know in this market, you're making a mistake. May I explain why? If they go, okay, let me hear it. You have now a platform to express to them what's going on. They don't want to hear it. They go, no, my brother's sister's dad is an agent, never sold a house in his life, but he told me to wait. I'm waiting. Perfect. I love it. Your house is on fire. I'm not saying that. Their house is on fire. I'm trying to offer them a 911 call, a fire truck, a water hose, or carrying a body, whatever it may be, helping somebody out. They're not ready. It's okay. Same thing with the sellers. You have to have a conviction that now is the best time to sell. I believe it is. When the market gets bad, there's going to be a flood of it. There's going to be opportunity. Now's the best time. There's no signs that the market's going backwards in transaction or in sales price. No sense whatsoever. Again, we don't know what the crystal ball of the future is. Somebody can drop a missile in the middle of Utah and it changes everything. We can't control that. That's a future that we can't look at. We can't make judgments based on that. We have to look at today's data and facts. And there's no better time to sell than right now. There's no appreciation happening, but the market's kind of low on inventory. There's some opportunities for sellers. Right. So whatever your version of the story is, that's the version to be into, in a place of compassion, conviction, and real enthusiasm, that now's the time. Right. So any takeaways, any ahas, any questions, anything before we kind of wrap up today? And I'm here for it. Nothing, you're all good? I'm good if you're good.
I'm good.
All right, I love it. So as you leave the call, write down one thing privately that you have fear around in your real estate business. Write one thing privately down that you have fear around, and then really sit with that, experience that, and ask yourself what it would look like if you could overcome that one thing, that one fear. Not 1,000 things, one. Right? Whatever it may be. I don't like calling expires, don't like calling my neighborhood, don't like helping my friends. I don't like calling my people bugging up, whatever it is. What's that one fear that you might be able to overcome, commit to, that may change the trajectory of your future business? I think that'd be a powerful place to start. Okay? All right, you guys. Listen, have a great day. I appreciate you. Crush the day, crush the week. I'll see you next week. All right.
Thanks, Randy.
You bet, buddies. Bye for now.